Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is an M10. It's a Tier 5 turreted American tank destroyer. It's located on the south spawn of Fisherman's Bay, and this one is under the command of Sunshinebilly. And that gun looks to me very much like the 105mm, and he's loaded with HE. Yes, it is the 105, 410 alpha, penetrating 53mm of armor, and with the heat rounds he can take it up to 102, penetrating or doing damage of 350. Well, very effective rounds these are, and you'd be surprised at how many enemy tanks you can take down with one shot. The M10, based on the hull of an M4A2, most of them had diesel engines, but there were a few that had the petrol engine. It's actually very thin armour, so it's actually quite vulnerable. And the gun, well, most guns that were fitted to this tank destroyer were the 3-inch gun, which was a 76.2 inch or 76.2 millimeters, and you can see the turret rotates very, very slowly. It's quite a heavy turret, but the gun's actually quite heavy, and so it does take a little while to rotate. I believe they did actually put a motorized gear for actually rotating the turret. You can definitely take that one down. Oh yes, lovely! One shot. First kill. Now he pulled back just in case he was spotted, but the Sixth Sense didn't go off, so he's popped back up again. Tier 5 game, so he's top tier, and there's Tier 4 tanks in it. Panzer 38 NA is going ahead to spot for us, and it looks like he's reached the bushes, but he might have been seen. There's an enemy tank over there, Panzer 38 NA. Yeah, he has been seen, and that Panzer 38 NA over there is spotting him. Well, he goes down, but were we seen? I don't think so. We've lost our scout as well. Now, the Americans made 6,406 of these tank destroyers, and only the last 300 were actually fitted with the high velocity 76mm round gun, which was actually just coming into the Sherman at the time, the M4. But the majority of them were actually armed with the 3-inch gun. And although they were basically tank destroyers, they are classified by the Tank Museum as self-propelled guns. And in fact, actually, they can fire indirectly, and they were fitted to fire indirectly. They had the equipment fitted, mounted on the right side of the turret, so they could work out the azimuth and the direction that they needed to fire in order to hit targets some distance away by indirect fire. So basically, they were like a a small artillery piece. But most of the time, they were used in a tank destroyer role, which is mostly to take on enemy vehicles, but I mean, they were supposed in the tank destroyer units to actually engage enemy tanks as a group whenever the enemy tanks were spotted, and they were supposed to do it from ambush, not from actually chasing them or anything like that. And so they weren't supposed to charge at the enemy or chase them. It was supposed to be just an ambush kill and then run away as quickly as possible. Oh, there's no sign of the enemy directly ahead of us, but we do know that some enemy tanks in the town, a B1 and a KV-1S, are coming up against our guys. And I expect very shortly that M4A1 and T80 are going to come under fire from the enemy, who are supposedly directly in front by those houses. Ah, there's one of them. It's a Lux. And that's a nice hit for 134. I think it hit his track. That's why it didn't kill him, but that one did. So he's got the looks. That's his second kill. It's an A20 over there, which is a Soviet light tank over by the houses. Okay, he's decided to move up. An IKV-103 has been seen over towards the north, but he's actually looking towards that light tank that was spotted. The A20. If he pops into view, yes, he has been seen, and now he's vulnerable. T28, that's an AFK on the spawn point. Takes him out with one round, but he has taken a round from the A20, and he's being holed This weak armor on this vehicle is absolutely dreadful. But he fires one in at the A20. The A20 realizes that he's got to get out of, into cover. So luckily he stopped firing, but he did lose a fair amount of hit points to those 3 shots from the A20. But he is now unspotted. And unfortunately, we're losing tanks over there. Oh, the enemy M10's gone down. That IKV's in cover, but he comes out. Oh, we just missed him. Go for it again. Reload time's quite good. 6.73. Fires around in. Yes, another kill. 4 kills now. Now you may wonder where the name Wolverine came from. So the Wolverine's actually associated with this vehicle, but actually nobody really knows where it came from. Most American vehicles were actually named by the British, but in this case, oh, it's just killed a gorilla at range. Going for the T67, fires one in there, but no, the T67 was unsighted when he shot. In actual fact, the M10 was never named the Wolverine by the British, but it just sort of like the name stuck after the war, and that's what people called it. And after the end of the war, because the Americans realized that this tank was basically obsolete, they actually sold a lot of them, or rather gave them away. Another one shot, the A20. So that's his Top Gun. They actually gave away a lot of these tank destroyers to the French, the Belgians, the Dutch, to rearm them after the end of the Second World War, supposing that the Soviets were actually going to then roll into Western Europe. But that didn't happen, thankfully, so they were basically used and kept by those forces until they weren't needed anymore, and then they were discarded. So there are other forces who actually got hold of them as well, people like the Israelis, and they used theirs. Now, one of the vehicles that actually came out of the M10 was in fact the Jackson. They put a new turret onto it with a 90mm gun, and that's what made the Jackson so easy for them to make, because it was basically the same vehicle, an M4A2, but with a different turret. And it was a very powerful tank, but again, it had the same handicap that the M10 did. It's very slow. There's also very weak armor on this vehicle. As you can see that, you see those, there's little, oh, there was an M10 ahead, it's a T67 ahead, he shot it straight away with a point blank range and took out the T67. I almost missed that while I was talking. But the armor on this vehicle is actually very light, and you can see these round things, and those are actually fixing points for applique armor. And they actually built them with the intention of adding the armor at a later date. Now, as the enemy tanks in this battle are at the other end of the map, I have the feeling that Sunshine Billy is actually now going to make life very difficult for the enemy, because they really haven't got very fast tanks, and now they're going to have to try and come back if they want to reset the cap. I'm wondering whether or not Sunshine Billy is actually going to stay in the cap. But if those B1s stay where they are at the moment, they're not going to win this game. They are going to lose for sure. And well, they've just lost one of them. There's only one B1 left. They might as well go and kill it. There it is. And get the maximum XP from the battle. No point in capping when you can get a kill. Potentially, Sunshine Billy may actually have the high caliber out of this battle. And there goes the B1. So it is definitely a win. Good game. Some lovely one-shots in that one. Let's have a look at the end of battle stats. Well, it's the first class tanker for Sunshine Billy in the M10. He managed to get a first mark of excellence in that game. He also managed to get a duelist, fire for effect, and a bruiser medal out of that, with 15 critical hits, not just 5. He also picked up a high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game, and he also got a top gun for 6 kills, but he actually got 7 in that one. So let's have a look at team score. Well, there were some bots in that game. Yes, I'm afraid you can see that on here. This was on the Asia server, and you can see sunshinebilly was the only player who managed to get over 1,000 hit points of damage. He managed to get 1,857. The next high scorer was the gorilla on the enemy team with 945, and then the Panzer III-4 on his own team with 902. When it came to kills, again he got the highest number. He got 7. The T-67 managed to get 4, and the Panzer III-4 managed to get 3. And when it came to base XP, again he had the highest amount, 975. 639 went to the M4A1 and 598 to the Hetzer. He fired 13 rounds, got 8 direct hits and 7 penetrations, 1 splash. Damage of 1,857 hit points, of which 1,210 were at more than 300 meters. He received 4 hits, 3 of those came from that A20, yeah, they were rather nasty. 1 shot came from the T-67 on that ambush. Yes, he waited until sunshinebilly was in range, and well, he came right in front of him, and that allowed sunshinebilly to derp him in the face with a 105mm round. 7 enemies damaged, 7 enemies killed, and 204 hit points of damage assistance. On a premium count, he earned 33,770 credits, and after repair and ammunition resupply, took away 29,694 credits. He picked up 2 bombs for the awards, the high caliber and top gun, and 1,462 XP, no multipliers, so that's all the experience points he took away. But that was a very decent game in the 105mm Wolverine, and I would suggest to a lot of players, if you haven't tried the Wolverine with the 105mm, do, because it's hilarious taking down tanks who are actually quite heavily armoured, and they still go down with the 105mm gun. In fact, it's quite shocking the amount of damage you can do. It's a bit unfortunate that in reality, during the Second World War, they never armed it with a 105mm. Most of them just had the 3-inch gun, and that was it. But that was the reason why the M10 actually had to be replaced by the Hellcat and the Jackson, because it just didn't have the firepower to get through the enemy tanks. But with a 105mm gun, it's a lot of fun. So if you enjoyed this replay, please give this video a like and do subscribe to our channel, and thank you for watching.